đầu năm là ý tưởng mà đầu tiên cho tôi thì là mang ra ý tưởng là chị Thiên Văn Thủy của sinh viên trường Bách Khoa năm 2006. Mà vì một số lý do thì trong nhiệm kỳ của Thủy là không thể tổ chức được cái chương trình này, thì đến năm anh đã cái thì là chủ tịch của hội sinh viên hội các chị xây dựng quốc tế SPI, thì anh đã thực hiện cái ý tưởng đã được tham gia từ năm trước.
Trong phần tiếp tổ chức thì em sẽ đã gặp những khó khăn
thì cái khó khăn mà như em nói thì bọn anh gặp cũng là rất là nhiều. Cái khó khăn lớn nhất đó chúng ta là đầu tiên tổ chức, vì đầu tiên tổ chức cho nên mọi thứ đó đều tất cả đều mới mẻ cả, nhưng mà như bọn em đã thấy đó thì thấy cái sự nói chung với cái sự cố gắng của ban tổ chức tất cả ban tổ chức thì cũng đã làm nên một cái thay đổi cho tôi hôm nay là tương đối là thành công tốt đẹp. Thì qua khó khăn đó sau giờ bọn anh đã được rất là nhiều sự hỗ trợ động viên, nhất là từ các anh chị trong SPI công ty, rồi cũng như là ban chủ nhiệm khoa, cũng như là các thầy cô trong khoa đã hỗ trợ. Và một cái phần nhỏ một cái nhỏ cho Petroleum 2011 đó chính là cái sự phát động, cái sự nhiệt huyết, cái sự tác động của các tổ chức để có
Petroleum Day 2015 đánh dấu cột mốc 5 năm của chương trình. Với việc mở rộng quy mô và đổi mới hình thức tổ chức, chương trình hứa hẹn sẽ để lại nhiều ấn tượng cho những người tham gia. Petroleum Day là cơ hội để các bạn sinh viên gặp gỡ đại diện của các công ty dầu khí, tìm hiểu thông tin và đăng ký phỏng vấn thực tập. Đây cũng là cơ hội để các bạn có những kiến thức cơ bản về ngành nghề triển vọng này. Song song đó, chi hội sinh viên SPI đã Bách Khoa thành phố Hồ Chí Minh cũng rất chú trọng đến việc phát triển tay nghề cho sinh viên thông qua những hội thảo về kỹ năng từ chính những quản lý nhân sự từ các công ty dầu khí trình bày. Trải qua 4 năm chương trình hình thành và phát triển, Petroleum Day thật sự đã trở thành một sự kiện lớn của sinh viên Đại học Bách Khoa thành phố Hồ Chí Minh nói riêng và sinh viên đến từ khối các ngành kỹ thuật trên địa bàn thành phố Hồ Chí Minh và cả nước nói chung. Rất nhiều các bạn sinh viên tham gia đã được trang bị các kiến thức, thông tin về cơ hội thực tập và làm việc tại các công ty dịch vụ hàng đầu thế giới tại Việt Nam như PVD Petroleum, Schlumberger, Halliburton, Weatherford. Tiếp nối các thành công của 4 năm qua, Petroleum Day 2015 kỷ niệm 5 năm chương trình ra đời với sự tham gia triển lãm của các công ty dầu khí và tổ chức như Schlumberger, Halliburton, Montreal, SPI Việt Nam, Premier Oil, PVD Petroleum, Weatherford, XC Star. Song song đó, các chủ đề nóng hiện nay như Unconventional Resources, Fracture Reservoir, Deepwater, Shale Plays sẽ được gửi đến chúng ta thông qua các chuyên gia đến từ các công ty tham gia triển lãm. Sự kiện Petroleum Day 2015 còn tổ chức cuộc thi Petro Talent Contest với nhiều phần quà giá trị. Tham dự cuộc thi, các bạn sinh viên cùng nhau trao đổi những kiến thức về công nghệ dầu khí cũng như làm thế nào để sử dụng và phát triển các nguồn năng lượng này. Cuộc thi là cơ hội để các bạn rèn luyện khả năng giao tiếp, tư duy và sáng tạo. Đã dấu một từ 5 năm hình thành và phát triển của chương trình, Petroleum Day 2015 là chương trình có quy mô lớn nhất với sự tham gia của các công ty dầu khí lớn trong và ngoài nước như Schlumberger, PVD Petroleum, Premier Oil, Montreal, Halliburton, Lamson GLC, XC Star và sự hỗ trợ của SPI Việt Nam. Với chủ đề Challenge and Opportunity, chương trình hứa hẹn sẽ đem đến những ấn tượng đẹp trong lòng mọi người.
Lần cuối cùng, thay mặt cho ban tổ chức chương trình Petroleum Day 2015 và ban điều hành chi hội sinh viên SPI trường Đại học Bách Khoa, chúng tôi xin được gửi lời cảm ơn trân trọng nhất đến quý nhà tài trợ, quý khách mời cũng như quý thầy cô đã dành thời gian đến tham dự chương trình. Xin chúc quý nhà tài trợ, quý khách mời cũng như quý thầy cô có thật nhiều sức khỏe và hẹn gặp lại trong Petroleum Day năm 2016.
today, whom I come a little bit late, Mr. Matt Duran, manager from PVD Baker Hill. And our Petroleum Day today will be divided into two sessions. The first session will take place here at the Horn Airport, and the second session will take place at our Faculty of Geology and Petroleum Engineering at YBA.
And now we would like to invite all of the guests and our students to come outside so we can take a photo to celebrate our 5th Petroleum Day.
Okay, rather than delay the whole proceedings, I think we'd like to take a start now. So, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure, a great honour to be here. Many of the company employees actually graduated from this university, so they all wish me well and say hi to you guys because they know exactly what you're going through. They went through the same thing and now they've all got very good jobs working for one of the best companies, which is Petroleum. Okay, so a little bit about myself. My name is Tony Roach. I'm Irish. I've been in the oil and gas industry for 25 years. Upstream, downstream, offshore, onshore, so I've got quite a varied experience in a number of activities. I've been very fortunate to work in a diversity of places. I was in UK, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Russia, and I've worked in Vietnam for the last 8 years, which I have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed everything that I've done. I think the oil and gas industry is a fantastic industry. It's a great opportunity. It's given me amazing opportunities, and I hope that it will give all of you the same kind of opportunities. Today I'd just like to talk a little bit about the oil and gas industry in Vietnam. I'm sure you know a lot of it, but hopefully there'll be some new information there for you. Good, it worked. Okay, so let's start off by talking about Petrovietnam. We all know Petrovietnam. Petrovietnam is the regulator. It runs the oil and gas industry in Vietnam. But maybe there's a few things you don't know about Petrovietnam. Petrovietnam is a diverse company. It's got more than 50 subsidiaries, ranging from oil and gas, of course, banking, insurance. Go down the list: PVP, exploration and production; PV oil, trading; PV power, obviously power generation, the refinery. Then it's got a number of partly owned subsidiaries: ESP, PV gas, etc. And then PVI, PV engineering. So it's a very diverse company that runs the oil and gas industry in Vietnam. By the way, if there's any questions, please ask at the end, or if it's really urgent, just stop me. Okay, then just a quick word on the structure of PVP. This is where we fit in. One Vo is one of the JOCs. Petrovietnam, or PVP, is a 41% shareholder. So we have 4 shareholders, one from Thailand, one from the UK, one from the US, and Petrovietnam. So basically, PVP also has a wide range with more than 50 subsidiaries. So they're very, very complex and large organizations. Okay, a little bit about the oil reserves found and still to be discovered. As you can see, the main production, let me see if I can work the pointer. So the main production has been here in the Cuu Long Basin. As you see, 1,100 million barrels. Is that right? I think that's right. But you can see at the Nam Con Sông Basin, there's a huge potential there. So if anybody tells you the oil industry is in decline, don't listen to them. There's still a lot of oil to be found, a lot of discoveries to be made. The interesting thing is, you look at Malay Basin, you look at Cuu Long Basin, all of those are in water depths of between 20 to, say, 60, 70 meters. So quite shallow water. Shallow water you think is going to be very easy to deal with. But what a lot of people don't realize is offshore in Vietnam is a harsh environment. When we were designing our FPSO, we had to design for 16-meter seas. We had to design for strong currents. As you all know, the monsoon season means that from October to March, we can't do any rig moves. So it's a harsh environment there. But if we look here, we've got continental shelf coming around here. So all the big oil left to be found is in water depths ranging from about 200 meters down to about 3,000 meters. Now, I believe the deepest well that's actually being drilled is in water about 300 meters. So there's a lot of deep water exploration that needs to be carried out, and I think that's going to be one of the challenges for oil companies in Vietnam. If we look at gas, it's a simpler picture actually. If you look at the potential versus the already discovered, you'll see the Cuu Long Basin has been the main production area. The difference here is if you look at the Sông Hồng Basin up in North Vietnam, there's 19 trillion cubic feet of gas, which is potential gas to be discovered. Again, the water depth there is pretty shallow, less than 100 meters, so it's not deep water, but it is going to be a good potential for the future. This, I know you probably can't read it, but I just wanted to give you an outline of how the oil and gas sector is divided within Vietnam. All of these little squares represent blocks. I think you'll see on the next slide, there's about 160 blocks, and of those, 107 blocks have already been leased. So there is still a number of blocks left to be leased, but if you look, again, most of those blocks are in the deep water area. So there's a lot still to be discovered there. Here is a list of all the blocks that have already been leased. Again, a wide range of companies. ExxonMobil, Huan every Total, Murphy, every international company pretty much is represented here. So there's a lot of companies, a lot of interest within Vietnam. Here's a chart, hopefully you're aware of this, but it just goes to show the position of Vietnam within the area. So in terms of reserves, we're actually number 3. So we're ahead of Indonesia, we're ahead of Thailand, Malaysia. So where a lot of people know the oil and gas industry is more developed. So there is a significant amount of reserves still in Vietnam. If we look at oil supply, the oil and gas industry in Vietnam is relatively new. Started production in the mid-80s. That was VSP, I believe, was the first company started production. Their production was at around 350,000 barrels a day in about 2000, 2005. And then there was a peak oil in about 2005 of about 400,000 barrels a day. Since that, there's been a decline. VSP's production has dropped from, say, 300, 350, down to only 100,000 barrels a day. So there is a decline. This jump here is when Huan Long started, so just so you're aware, we added major reserves to the country. The challenge is, if you look at the next slide, this is demand in Vietnam. If we go back to 1980, demand was about 20 to 30 million barrels a day. And look at the rise in demand. So we're almost up to 500 million barrels a day. Now, as you saw, the production is less than 400. So Vietnam right now is a net importer of oil. We need to find more oil, we need to produce more so that we can get the balance in Vietnam. And that's what all the companies are trying to do, trying to achieve that. But this trend is very sharp, and I think it's going to continue. As the country continues to develop, you're going to see that trend continue. So the demand for oil is always going to be there. 2 amazing finds in Vietnam: the TGT field, Tê Chang, and Cam Vang field. This is Okay, it's a plug for my company, but these are the two fields that we found. These are both in the Kulong Basin. We, at one stage from the two fields, we were producing about 55,000 barrels a day, so it's a significant quantity. As I mentioned before, that although we're only in 43 meters depth of water, the actual metocean challenges were very, very significant. So don't underestimate how difficult the engineering challenges you're going to face in the oil and gas industry in Vietnam. Also, I'd like to talk, a lot of people think that oil and gas is just in one big pool. Here is an example from our field of all the different areas where we're currently producing. So it's quite a long range, and you'll find that a lot in the fields in Vietnam. And also what we've experienced is that we've got multi-layered sands. So we've got up to 50 layers of sands that we're trying to produce oil from. Typically fairly thin sands, and that in itself produces a challenge. But we've recently discovered H5 down here. We've got 2 existing platforms taking oil from all the other fault blocks here. So, and we're hoping that we can continue going down here and finding more and more oil. So, potential looks good. A lot of what you see in the offshore Vietnam is obviously underwater. So, just wanted to give you a quick schematic of what we've currently got out there. So, we've got our leased FPSO. It's an external turret, and we had, I think, 6 months where people were trying to work out the engineering. How could we deal with the metocean data that we had to contend with? So it was a very challenging project. But we've been producing for 4 years. The big scheme of pipelines, here's H5 coming on. All our gas goes into Backhoe, the BSP field. And last year we tied in two additional fields from Tan Long. So we're sharing the resources and not and minimising the capital investment required. Just a few nice photos there of installing the jacket offshore, topsides construction, and the piping installation. Okay, so there's a brief overview of the oil and gas industry in Vietnam. I'd like to say that when you guys graduate, when you all take your jobs, you're going to face a number of challenges. One of the key ones that we're currently facing is the drop in oil prices that everybody knows about. It's not something new. I personally experienced, I think, 3 drops in oil prices. Every time everybody panics. There's no need to panic. We will get through it. There'll be an upside again. We don't know when. If I knew when, I wouldn't be working. I'd be just investing in oil. But it does mean that the future investment activity is difficult. People start to reevaluate, which is not a bad thing, because sometimes the industry can get a bit fat. They can be, by that I mean that people don't pay attention to costs as much as they should. So this allows everyone to focus on costs, so it's good. But it does mean that production costs in some fields are very close to break even, which is going to be a challenge to keep the business going. Obviously nobody wants to make losses, but short-term losses are probably inevitable. What it does mean is that right now in Bung Tau there's a number of yards, PPCMS, BSP, PTSC, that they need a constant flow of projects coming through to keep the skilled workforce. As the capital investment drops, it means the number of projects coming through are not as many as we would like. So hopefully the oil price will turn around, people will get better at what they do it more efficiently, which means that we can keep the projects going, keep the skill that we've actually got now in Vietnam. I think is a very high quality skill we've got in Vietnam. As I mentioned earlier as well, the decline in production versus the demand, it's going to be an issue. We need to find more oil, we need to develop more oil in order to keep a balance, which would be a great achievement. Challenging offshore conditions, I've already mentioned. Multi-layered sands, complex reservoirs, great challenges for all your subsurface people out there. But, there's a lot of potential reserves, but they are in deeper water, more expensive to develop, more challenging. So I think you guys are going to be facing that kind of challenge when you graduate. That's going to be a key issue for you. So in summary, Vietnam is a very important oil and gas producer in Southeast Asia. We're currently the third largest reserves holder in Southeast Asia. Petroleum is key to development and guidance within Vietnam oil and gas industry. And currently our production is about 350,000 a day. So it's a reasonably sized production, but obviously everybody would like to see more to try and meet the growing demand. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you a fantastic Petroleum Day, and I wish you all every success in your future careers. If there's any questions, please go ahead. Don't make them too difficult.
Hello. I want to ask about the job market of Petroleum Day when the price fall down the whole world in Vietnam.
The job market in Vietnam. Good question. Very topical question. I would say it's not as good as it was a year ago. To be honest, it's more challenging. But one thing that I think the industry has learned from previous drops in oil price is that we cannot afford to not continue hiring, because the oil and gas industry will recover. What happened in, I think it was the 80s and 90s, was there was a big gap where companies didn't hire, and then they found that suddenly there's a huge skill shortage. So certainly our perspective is that we need to still encourage people into the industry. We need to still train and hire people. It's not as, honestly, it's not as buoyant as it was, but I believe it will still continue. And Mark will have a lot to say about that later on in the day. Okay? Thank you. Okay. Oh, one more.
So excuse me. So due to our limited time, this is gonna be the last questions for the first speaker.
I'm a question that I'm seeing your slide that say we have to find many oil, and I think that's the percent to find oils will boost down for a few years, and when we graduate, that's we have to find a lot of oils, and it's not doesn't exist anymore. So that's a chance for us to have the job is will go down.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that there is going to be opportunity. As I said, there is a decline. We need to try and reverse that decline. And I see the big opportunity is going to be deep water. Certainly in the Vietnam market, I see that's where the biggest potential is. So you're right. There is going to be certainly going to be opportunities available. And again, I'm sure Mark will be talking a lot about that later on today. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. May I invite you to remain on stage for this report? I would like to invite Dr. Tạ Quốc Dũng to deliver the trophy of appreciation to our first speaker today. Thank you, Dr. Tạ Quốc Dũng, and thank you, Mr. Tony Ross, for such a wonderful presentation and your reply on the question. So now it's 10 minutes time for coffee break, and we would like to invite our guests to come outside to have coffee break before we continue with our second seminar. And students, please stay inside for.
So our second seminar will begin in 10 minutes. So please.
Cause you know I'm on about the bass, no trouble. I'm on about the bass, no trouble. I'm on about the bass, no trouble. I'm on about the bass, know I'm